This week's podcast is brought to us once again by you. Want to thank everyone that's been on our Patreon page at patreon.com/3legs4wheels and pledged and donated money. Every penny that you donate goes straight into the podcast. It pays for microphones, software, you know the drill. Basically, everything that keeps this thing ticking over. Also, just want to throw in a quick apology before the show starts. We had a bit of microphone problems this week with Chris's microphone. It was either not turned on, or pointing the wrong way, or he didn't want to talk into it. So if it sounds a little echoey, it's just a one-off. I've done the best job that I can to get it working, and you should be able to hear everything all right. Okay, on with the show. Hi and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Chris.
Lee this time.
Lee, are you sure you're here?
Yeah, definitely. This definitely isn't take two, and I definitely didn't not arm my own track.
You should have heard some of the quality material we came up with in those first 5 minutes.
It was okay. It was 2.5.
Oh,
Dan's not here.
Dan's not here.
Dan's off being a secret agent.
Yeah. No,
You're
I can't.
You're not going to do it
I
this
can't
time.
sing this time. Sorry.
It's first take only.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which one
sorry,
are you? Charles already? Oh, my.
Yeah.
We've already done that one.
What a British Grand Prix.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Two great races in a row following the real horrible, flatulent French Grand Prix, which was awful.
And as I tweeted on Sunday during the race, most of you probably didn't see this, but two great races on two circuits that weren't designed by Herman Tilke. Coincidence?
Range, innit?
Classic race circuits as well. I mean, I know Paul Ricard's a classic race circuit, but it was not remodelled by Tilke and crew.
I've got a horrible feeling it might have been.
Yeah. Not only a classic race on the Silverstone circuit, but classic race after they tried to wreck bits of it.
Yeah. But the Red Bull ring, okay, it's only been on the calendar for the last few years, but it was the A1 ring from the sort of like late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Before that was the Österreich ring, going way back, and it was a popular race circuit in the 70s and 80s. So
Hellishly dangerous.
Oh yeah, super. But
as they all were back then.
Yeah, but the it's really good to see two really good Formula One races in a row. Some drivers lost out more than others, but it's the way it goes.
Yeah,
I
would say that.
It's kind of the way the sport falls.
I mean, it was kind of unpredictable going into it as well, because nobody knew how this new tarmac was going to perform.
And they all struggled, didn't they? Friday, Saturday, especially with the rain on Saturday.
And the wind on Friday, that was taking a lot of drivers off on corners, because I think it was like 40-mile-an-hour gusts in some places.
Yeah,
how much wind was in the pit lane?
Must have been quite a lot.
Yeah.
Roman Grosjean. How do you describe something like that, apart from, I didn't know the tyres were curled?
Which is... Come on, man.
It is strange.
You just left your garage. You're going uphill and to the right. Don't nail the throttle at your first
Do you know what the crazy thing is? I bet it's something that's so unbelievably easy to do in a Formula One car, what he did.
Probably is,
It's just unfortunate it was Roman Grosjean that did it. If it would have been Lewis or Bottas, people would have gone, that's ridiculous. How did someone do that? And then instantly forgotten about it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, not Grosjean. Is he gone? Do we think he has to be this time?
Well, we may as well start the proceedings of the review with Haas, because they were the worst performing team of the race.
Effectively ended both their races lap 1, turn 5.
Yeah.
Four turns later than we thought.
Is Grosjean gone? I think Grosjean might be gone, but we had a little chat pre-pod, and I agree with Lee. I don't think he's wholly to blame for the...
I don't think he was to blame for that incident at all.
No. It's because Grosjean's involved, the finger gets pointed at Grosjean.
Yeah.
But Kevin Magnussen was not really on the circuit.
He wasn't on the circuit. The only thing I would say is when you see the onboard of it, Grosjean he's not looking in his mirrors. He's looking fucking bolt ahead of him. And when all the cars are that bunched up, you would think that maybe a bit more spatial awareness would be good. It's like the
You're supposed to take it easy on that one, aren't you? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, if not easy, because you're trying to make positions up, but you have to look at what's going on around you. You're somebody like Bottas, for instance, wouldn't have done that. He'd have been aware that there was somebody on the outside of him.
And he was when he was having a good fight for early on with Hamilton.
Yeah.
We get to Mercedes a bit later on, but I mean, Haas have had a tumultuous week, which we'll talk about in the news a bit later on. But on track, they didn't qualify well.
No.
They started the race, and as Paul just said, then turn 5.
Yeah.
They clouted each other, and it was I don't know that it was enough to end the race for each of them, but there was definitely a puncture on each of them, and that caused them both to pit at the end of lap 1. Magnussen was practically a lap down at the beginning of lap 2. He had the Mercedes pair right behind him.
Magnussen was able to get back to the pits first, which I think was the issue, but they had to do quite a lot of checks on the car. According to Grosjean, he ended up with damage to the floor and the brake ducts, which
it was a hefty
it was hell of a slam.
Because of course, don't forget those wheels are connected to drive shafts, which obviously turn the wheels, which are connected directly to a gearbox. And there's nothing. So if there's an impact, sideways impact, quite a heavy one like that one was, you could quite easily shaft your gearbox. Literally.
Yeah, absolutely. It's surprising actually, given the caliber. Caliber's probably a nasty word to use for them, but given the types of drivers that they are, I'm surprised this hasn't happened sooner and then on a more regular basis.
Well, it kind of happened in Spain, didn't it, towards the end, when
but
they
not
were
quite
trying
the
to
same.
kill each other.
Can I just hold my
Look,
hand up?
to be fair, again, that was Magnussen trying to kill Grosjean.
Okay, Magnussen tried to kill Grosjean on 2 occasions this season. Well, not tried to.
Grosjean tried to kill Fernando Alonso. I know.
No. What I'm going to say is, okay, if we want to... Kevin Magnussen's teammate before he joined Haas at Renault was Jolyon Palmer.
Yeah.
Did you try and kill Palmer at any point?
Too far ahead of him, probably.
Don't think he tried to kill Palmer. When he was teammates with Jenson Button...
Palmer's car was usually on fire.
When he was teammates with Jenson Button, did he try and kill Button?
No, didn't try and kill Button. In fact, not only that, Button really likes him, doesn't he? He really likes the guy.
Yeah, so when Grosjean was teammates with Maldonado, did they ever come together? Yes.
Yeah.
A few times.
But to be fair, and I'm sounding like Grosjean's advocate here, but to be fair, when Maldonado was in Formula 1, he came together with just about everyone on the circuit.
When Grosjean was Alonso's teammate, did Grosjean and Alonso come together at any point?
No.
I think they did.
Maybe once.
Yeah. I think Grosjean got a little bit cocky.
Spa did Grosjean take out Kovalainen when he hit Button in Spa?
That's what got him the ban.
Was that? Yeah, but was it both the Renaults that were involved?
He took out half the grid.
Yeah.
Oh no, there were 2 different Spas where.
Not that one. The one. 2009.
Oh, 2009.
He took out Button on lap 1.
He took Button out, but did he not take Kovalainen out as well?
Took somebody out with him. Yeah.
Hamilton. It was Hamilton and
Button.
Yeah, I thought Kovalainen too, but I might be wrong about that.
But yeah,
wasn't the race to go to if you're British.
Grosjean's not got a great track record, which is why I think you got to look at him and go, "Excuse me, Roman." However, when you've got that history, you are going to get the finger pointed at you. However, not entirely to blame for this incident, as in kind of blameless. He was in the right place. Magnussen was in the wrong place.
I think so.
Magnussen had made up a place because he started 2 places behind Grosjean. Got himself up to 15th. Tried to overtake Grosjean on the outside of a turn where the racing line runs naturally on the outside of it anyway. And then tried to come back onto the circuit through a teammate.
No.
Quote of the week, though, still goes to Gunter Steiner. Yeah. Because you can always rely on good old Gunter for something
Captain Soundbite.
Yeah, this one, it was a very disappointing race for us. I'm just stating the obvious here. The best that our drivers could bring to the battle was a shovel to dig the hole we're in even deeper.
Classic Gunter.
Classic Gunter Steiner.
We need to go back, regroup, and see what we do in future.
I think it's a change of drivers, possibly both of them.
I've already said it this season. 2 new drivers in the car.
I think that would be a good idea, but I still think they'll keep Magnussen.
I think one of them will go because the Haas like continuity. They don't like to change too much up.
Daniel Kvyat, I reckon he'll be Haas.
That's not a bad shout. That Daniel Kvyat, Pascal Wehrlein possibly.
I think his time in Formula One's gone.
He's been testing Ferrari.
Everyone's tested Ferrari
on a closed circuit.
Could be Brendan Hartley. Could be Sergei Sorokin.
Could Sorokin, yeah, who knows, maybe. Somebody from recent Formula One.
Because Sorokin comes with SMP money and may need a new title sponsor.
He's in the same cupboard as Gary Paffett.
What, getting 0% in fan boost in Formula E?
Yeah.
I will put my hand up. I voted for Gary Paffett in fan boost for Saturday's Formula E race because nobody else had done.
No.
I felt bad for him.
Pity vote.
Yeah. Still didn't work.
It's because he's got all the personality of a soggy cardboard box.
He's good at swearing though.
Oh my! I want fan boosts.
Racing Point up next.
Racing Point next. Yeah.
Perez finished last of the runners, if I remember, because he decided that he missed Hulkenberg so much. He wanted to be so close to him that he decided to put his Racing Point in the back of that Renault.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you make a McLaren, isn't it? You get something pink and you get something yellow and you smush them together and something orange comes out of it.
Well, ish.
I'm colourblind.
And that was following the safety car restart, wasn't it? That Perez has got a little too close to Hulkenberg
and didn't like the front wing that he had on, so thought he'd trash it.
Yeah, and then suffered from problems for the rest of the race because he wasn't even able to catch the Williams pairing. Who did okay, but Lance Stroll was doing quite well again in awful qualifying.
Yeah.
If he learns to qualify, he will be a regular point scorer. But he'd
be 9th or 10th.
Yeah, he's just got too many places to make up because he just cannot get qualified.
Do you think this is one of the things that might get fixed from next year when they change the tyres?
Qualifying?
Yeah. Do you think it's a tyre issue with him?
No, it's just that he doesn't have one lap pace.
I think it's for him is a tyre not understanding what the tyres are doing.
That's an improvement from...
He's in the same boat as everyone else.
That's an improvement from last year when he didn't know if his brakes were too hot or too cold.
But
a couple of years ago now, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's not the greatest driver on the track. I think that's fair.
But he can race, clearly.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm convinced that he is being upset with the tyres when it comes to qualifying, not being able to get enough heat into them.
Possibly, but yeah, disappointing Saturday. But again, Racing Point aren't where Force India as a team were. Is this a natural position now, sort of towards the back? A little bit further towards the back.
I think it is for this season. I mean, they've got the amount of new staff they've taken on.
Haven't they got a new car coming for Germany?
I don't know.
I think they've got like an almost B spec upgrade coming.
If it doesn't come in for Germany, we'll probably see it in Belgium.
Yeah.
And I think they need to, and I think they need something that can, if it is the tyres, get more heat into them.
But it's only Mercedes that have worked the tyres out.
Just like Ferrari were the only ones to work out how the Bridgestones work.
Yeah, absolutely.
They struggle on the softs though. Mercedes, they're all right on the hard and the mediums, but depending on what kind of leaning towards the harder end of the spectrum.
You say struggle, everything's relative. They might not be as strong as they are in the mediums and the hards, but I don't think they've got much to worry about.
No,
I don't even think it's so much the soft. I think
given that perspective, it's a fair point.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's so much the soft tyres that they're struggling with. I think it's a coincidence that.
I mean, don't forget the soft tyres this week were the hard tyres.
Yeah.
Last week.
3 races ago.
Yeah,
right.
But I don't think it's so much the softer tyres. You're thinking it's the softer tyres because they've struggled at the hot races.
No, what I'm saying is
But it's the
whole
cooling
spectrum.
on the car. That's where they're vulnerable, is the cooling.
Yeah, so the whole spectrum, the harder spectrum, with the 1 to 5 or whatever it is.
Medium's a trait, though, isn't it? Mercedes.
Yeah,
we always see it in testing. They just hammer the medium because they know there or thereabouts the medium is probably going to be the race tyre.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good chance that the C3, which is the slap bang middle of the 5 compounds, that's the one that's going to get used at just about every race.
Yeah.
So they're going to get the most out of that. It just happened this week that the C3s were the softs.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I mean, going back to Racing Point, I don't know how we drifted away from them, but
Unforgettable, that's why.
Disappointing for Perez and kind of anonymous for Stroll, but a good strong 13th place, if you can call it that. Being that they've been overtaken by all the other teams.
Yeah, I think it's also one of those ones where a couple of people that would have been in front of him were taken out, and
maybe
Perez would have been in front of him, Vettel would have been in front of him. You could have argued the Haas's might have been in front of him.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden that 14th place is a lot further back.
Yeah.
But you've got to finish a race to get a position.
You can only play with the cards you dealt.
Absolutely.
And if everybody else folds, you win.
Essentially, that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
We're getting too close to Kenny Rogers territory here.
I know when to walk away from that comment.
Good.
So we'll run straight to Williams.
The third, I put them third on the list, although they were kind of in between the Racing Points with.
Yeah, it was kind of a Williams sandwich.
Ish, yeah. Russell genuinely 14th place.
Finished in front of a Ferrari.
On actual on-track pace.
Yeah.
Alright, okay, Vettel had to go around and get his wing repaired and had to tour around and check his car for the rest of the damage, but that was a good race for Williams in that they weren't. They were on the tail of everyone else and ahead of some other cars.
Yeah.
They weren't the worst. Given the time penalty, Robert Kubica actually finished ahead of Vettel because Vettel got a 10-second time penalty for his accident with Max Verstappen, and Robert Kubica finished 9.7 seconds behind Vettel, which put him after the penalty 0.3 ahead of him. So Kubica finished ahead of Vettel.
I mean, there was a lot of time during that race where George Russell was matching the pace of the Racing Points.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were watching lap times, weren't we, when we were doing the live blog, and I said, what kind of laps is George Russell doing? And he was roughly the same as Hülkenberg, Perez.
Absolutely, user-based content that's coming out of that car.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, that because that Williams.
But Kubica wasn't that far behind.
I'm gonna say something contentious here. Kubica is getting the pace out of the Williams that any other mid-grid driver would get. Possibly. And the reason that we're seeing George Russell destroy him is George Russell is something extra special.
Maybe he's touted as being a future world champion, isn't he?
Well, did you see Russell's interview over the weekend? I think it was with Channel 4 because I watched the qualifying on Channel 4, and he was saying that he knows he's not in a competitive car, but he's got to be upbeat and try and help the team as much as he possibly can, and he knows that he's impressing the right people by what he's doing. If he carries on doing it,
I remember certain podcasters saying this last week.
Yeah, he knows he's impressing the right. If he keeps impressing the right people, that's all he has to keep doing. And George Russell himself actually said that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that long ago, really, that you used to went and spoke to George at the Mercedes factory.
He's not in that Williams.
We spoke to George Russell before he'd even driven an F2 car.
Yeah. He's not in that Williams to try and be a Williams driver.
No.
But
you know why George is there.
The only thing I disagree with what you said about Kubica, because I will, I'm quite happy to not be on the Kubica bandwashing wagon bash for a week.
Hang on, bandwashing, that's somewhere in South Germany, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's another type of pickled cabbage. But it was his best race since he's come back.
So far.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. I think he did get what that car could give this week, but I don't believe he's done that anywhere else during the year
No.
because he's been too far behind Russell.
Yeah.
I think the idea that, you know, when Russell's been like 50 seconds ahead of him, the idea that he's doing
or a lap ahead.
Yeah, but the idea he's doing what the car could do, and George Russell's like a minute ahead. I'm sure George Russell might be a fine Formula One driver, but that's too big a gap to be just talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are some people who know, people in the know. I think was the actual term they used. Just how good George Russell is.
I'm talking it back though. I think George might spend another year in Williams next year.
Maybe.
But I bet if he's in Williams next year, Williams are going to get help. So
maybe, possibly. I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past Russell and Ocon maybe being in the Williams next year.
I know Ocon's going to be released by all counts, isn't he, from the Mercedes driver program?
Ocon's going to be released if he gets another drive.
Yeah.
But it's you're saying if, but I think I said this last week anyway. But the fact that they're even entertaining releasing him if he can get a drive suggests to me that Mercedes have no intention of getting him a drive in Formula One, or they've no intention of sorting him out.
They think that Renault might be an option, but we'll get to silly season later on.
I think now that F1 have done their first silly season article themselves on their own website, it is now officially silly season.
I think we'll have a silly season update after every Grand Prix now.
Yeah, I think so. And
we'll have it on every preview show as well.
Yeah.
Toro Rosso next. Gotta feel sorry for Alex Albon.
Yeah, had a failure towards the end of the race.
What actually happened was he was running 9th and
on for points. Home-ish Grand Prix.
Had a pit stop in hand that he could have made, stayed in the points, and there was an electrical problem with the car where it looked like the car was live while the ignition was on.
Well, the car was live.
Yeah. So they couldn't bring him in for fear of dying, and the only way they could have changed the tyres was to actually power down the car, change the tyres, and then restart it. Yeah, and unfortunately that meant they had to leave him out, and his tyres just fell off a cliff and lost 3 places.
He just got munched eventually, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Poor Alex Albon.
There was more canvas on show than the Louvre.
Yeah.
Good effort though for Alex Albon. He's not having a terrible first season. We've just been singing the praises of George Russell. Albon's been pretty good. Albon's
been kind of put in the not in the shade so much, but it's notable how good Daniel Kvyat's comeback's been.
Yeah.
I think it's no shame on Albon because he's in his first year.
I kind of feel sorry for Albon because unlike the other 2 rookies on the grid, he's being compared against 3 other drivers rather than 2 because he's being compared with Lando Norris and George Russell, and he's got the comparison of the returning Danny Kvyat as well in the same car.
And the 2 Red Bull drivers.
Yeah, but I compare all 4 of the GP2 newcomers together. It's not like I'm not just comparing Albon to Norris or Albon to George Russell or Giovinazzi.
Yeah.
They're all getting the same treatment in that case. If anything, I think he's...
But Albon's got the extra comparison of his teammate as well.
Yeah, but we definitely compare Lando to Carlos Sainz. And Carlos has got the harder job getting on top of Carlos than I would say he's got getting on top of Daniel Kvyat.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Kvyat's having a good season, but I don't think he's as good as Carlos Sainz.
No, that's why he's in a Toro Rosso, not a McLaren.
Yes.
Kvyat did end up taking that position from his teammate there and finished 9th, so 2 points for Daniel Kvyat.
Yeah. On a race where he wasn't happy either. He wasn't happy all weekend, said he didn't have the car underneath him.
No, so, it's a point to finish for Toro Rosso's. It's all right, I suppose, at the moment for Toro Rosso.
Kvyat was made up with his position.
Picking up points where they can get them.
Yeah.
And that is what Toro Rosso need to do, is to be in the right place to take advantage of being able to get points. I think we could actually potentially see an identical Toro Rosso lineup next year.
I don't think Danny Kvyat will be there. I think it depends if your man can sort himself out, doesn't it, in F2 or in... No, is he going to Super Formula now?
Award.
Pato O'Ward. I don't think he's got the races left in Super Formula to mount a serious championship bid, which is what he needs.
I don't... I don't think they care if he wins the championship.
No, but he needs the championship of the super license points.
He's got a super license.
No, he hasn't.
Yes.
He hasn't.
He has. He's got enough points.
He hasn't. They still don't know how many. No one knows how many points he's got for Indy Lights because the FIA haven't decided yet.
But if the F1 the F1 channel seems to think they knew.
But the FIA don't. They're the important ones. They're the ones
I think if Toro Rosso or if Red Bull want to put him in that car, I think they'll find the points for him.
I think he will do Super Formula for the rest of the year and then F2.
Maybe
he will do it. We'll see Patricia Award in F2 next year.
But that's a silly season thing.
But that's again, that's silly season.
Let's go to them.
I'm looking down at that arrow and Alpha. Here we go. Binary.
Yeah, totally binary result for Alfa Romeo. Mm-hmm. Really quiet, really brilliant result for Kimi Räikkönen. 8th place.
Yeah. He's just doing what he's done all year. All year he's
given that the best of the rest is supposed to start at 7th.
Highest place. Yeah.
Drove himself round on the parade lap.
Yeah,
he was the only one in a single seater from what I could see.
Yeah, in the 158 Alpha that won the very first Grand Prix at Silverstone.
Yeah.
Anyone see him waving at a stand? He started. I think it was.
Didn't even wear a helmet, did he? Just just his cap, just cruising around.
I think he was going.
And the Ray-Bans, of course.
Yeah.
I think he was going into Maggots and Beckett's. I think it was, and he started waving at the crowd. And Maggots came up a little bit quicker than he thought he would do, and it was one of those. Oh shit!
I am driving a 70-year-old priceless car. I should probably, sunglasses on, cap, just quite happy to just cruise around Silverstone in a 70-year-old Alpha. Fair play to him.
Yeah. What happened to Giovinazzi? What caused that crash? It
looked like a technical failure.
It looked like one brake locked, one of his brakes locked and the other one didn't.
Yeah.
But
it was on the downshift as well, so it might have even been some gearbox related.
But on the downshift it could also be driver error. I haven't actually seen any official statement from Alpha to say exactly what happened. But if you're downshift too soon, they're going to lock your back wheels.
Yeah. Well,
and spin you right round.
Button and Brundle were talking about this on Sky, and they both seem to think that that what you're talking about is something that used to happen on old Formula One cars, and it's not as much.
That's a mechanical thing.
There.
If you, if you any rear wheel drive, even rear wheel drive road car, if you change down a little bit too soon, you will your back end of your car will snake around a little bit.
The official statement, and I'm pretty convinced that Alfa Romeo have actually got Kimi doing all their press statements for them.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Something went wrong with the car and put me in the gravel.
Right, okay.
So technical failure there.
Of course, it could be that he said that he's going to cut a little bit of his hair off every time he scores a point, so maybe he just threw it in the gravel because he just like his hair.
Yeah, maybe.
Join us. Don't leave me the only one.
Of course, Giovinazzi was responsible for the safety car. I'm surprised that it was a full safety car, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Thought maybe we might get a VSC.
Where he binned it, they had to bring a crane out, and this is what leads me to think there was something very technical and the wheels had locked up, which is why they needed the crane, and they couldn't actually drag it out the gravel because one or two wheels weren't turning.
Yeah. They had to put the crane and personnel out, I suppose in quite an exposed area as well, so a full safety car was the way to do it.
Well, let's face it, he wasn't the only driver to go off at that corner, so proof that you really do need the safety car if there's somebody in that particular patch of gravel.
There are other drivers who made mistakes going into the Vale chicane, let's just say that.
Other cock-ups are available.
But no, I mean, a really, really solid drive for Kimi Räikkönen. He did the kind of what we expect Carlos Sainz to usually do. Keep his head...
They're getting on with it.
Yeah, getting on with it. Head down, really quiet, no drama, no massive, no replayable moments, just there when it mattered. 8th place is a really good result for Kimi in that car.
Yeah, absolutely.
And given what's happening at the big boy team,
who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? I'll get onto that later.
Yeah, get the speculation spectacles out. Renault next. Double points finish.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good race for Renault actually. You noticed, didn't you, Lee, earlier on in the weekend they were looking quite strong.
Ropey.
Well, they were ropey, but
they were Renault were well off in.
But
practice.
That was Friday practice was when all the wind and everybody.
But it all seemed to come together for them for qualifying. That's P3 in qualifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lando Norris carried on doing his job from Austria, and he had Danny Rick roundabout DRS range behind him again forever.
Yeah, until Lando had to pit again. But we'll talk about McLaren in a bit. Renault, one of the teams that kind of benefited from the safety car, and Daniel Ricciardo made it quite a few places. I think he pitted just before, hadn't he?
I think he lost a couple of places and had to make a couple back, but he didn't suffer as much as Lando did.
No. And Hülkenberg, again, after his collision with Perez, and he had a bit of a damaged floor. He said he struggled with the car for the rest of the race, but a double points finish is not terrible.
I'm calling it that Hülkenberg isn't going to be in that car next year.
No, I agree. He did not sound happy at the end of the race, despite the fact he scored points.
But did you even hear what he said about the pit stops?
No.
And he said, "Oh, we could have done better today," but they told the car went into a fail mode, into like creep home, and then it sorted itself out. That was when he had the slow lap. He said also, I wanted to come in for a pit stop, and I told them I need to come in, and they just had no interest in bringing me in. That was his quote.
Yeah.
That does not, to me, sound like
a happy man
that's going to be in that team next year.
No happy Hülkenberg. So maybe a double driver swap at Renault next year.
Maybe.
That would be disappointing for
But
him.
unfortunately for Hülkenberg as well, it's given how down he is, it also doesn't seem to be a person that's going to get that Red Bull seat that was sort of rumoured either.
Don't know. Depends. He might end up at Haas next year. Who knows?
That he'd be a great
driver for Haas. Yeah, he'd be a great driver for anyone. I think he's one of the most underrated drivers on the grid. Like you always said, German Jenson Button.
Yeah.
Give him the car.
He might win a world championship.
Yeah. Give him the car and he will.
Let's get him on the podium first.
No, but he is. I think
he's never had the car.
Yeah, I think he's that good. And he's that consistent as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you put him in, I don't think he's quite on the level of world championship winning, in a car, like Alonso would win a world championship in a car that wasn't the best. So I don't think he's quite on that level, but he's certainly best car, best driver. He'd be gone. It'd be difficult to catch, but he's never had that car.
I mean, when you think about it, if Button wasn't lucky enough to at least had those decent years in a BAR, when BAR and Honda were pretty good and competing, he could have very easily continued his career without wins and podiums until he got to Brawn, and I still think he'd won that championship.
Yeah, I think so.
Anybody could have won that championship in the Brawn, I think.
Apart from Rubens Barrichello, because he was clearly number 2.
That is true. One thing that Hülkenberg did say was he wasn't happy with the team's strategy, so you might be right about rumblings of discontent coming from both sides.
Yeah, no, I think Hülkenberg. I agree with Lee. I think Hülkenberg's on his way. I'm agreeing with you too much tonight. I think the Hülkenberg's on his way out.
We're about to talk about McLaren, so we'll see what Lee has to say on this one. Carlos Sainz in 6th benefited massively from the safety car. It just played straight into his hands.
It did, yeah. Again, that McLaren just is just the best of the rest for the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
However, his teammate Lando at his home Grand Prix did lose out on the safety car. And wasn't able to benefit again because he was on the same kind of strategy as Bottas, wasn't he? Where he had to pit again to change his tyres, and that obviously left him behind Albon until Albon had his problem, which meant that Norris finished just outside the points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean McLaren didn't pit Lando during the safety car, and he says he reckons maybe they should have done. And yeah, I've got to agree with him because having to pit under racing conditions did knock him back.
Yeah, and he had to make another late pit stop because they put him on the same tyres twice.
Yeah,
good start for him though, which he seems to have got his starting problem nailed in the last couple of races because he's now gaining places rather than losing them.
I think apart from the safety car screwing him over, he'd have had a great weekend.
I think so. I think he would have been roughly where Sainz finished.
Yeah, I think so.
But again, given that Sainz had a poor qualifying, I wouldn't say another great comeback drive, but in Austria he went from like 18th to 8th or 19th to 8th. In Silverstone now he's gone from like 14th to 6th.
Yeah.
So it's another really good recovery drive from Carlos Sainz. see why
He
McLaren
won. He won from the safety car though.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Well,
I can see why
he was the second biggest winner out of the whole safety car.
Yeah.
I can see why McLaren have tied those two down for.
First, he made up more places.
Yeah, I can see why McLaren have tied those two down for another year. It's they're keeping their own. Silly season's just about kicking off, isn't it? And McLaren have gone, no, not our boys. They're ours for another year.
McLaren have got the what we used to think of as the usual Renault team. Like Renault for ages had like what you thought of. That's a really strong driver lineup.
Yeah.
But Lando and Carlos is secretly seeming like if
The
McLaren really
want.
saw their car together, that's a good team.
Yeah.
They seem to complement each other very well.
They do.
Bizarre rumours around the paddock this weekend that McLaren are looking to take a Mercedes engine in 2 years' time.
I could understand why.
Yeah. But there might be one available if what we were talking about last week comes to fruition, and that Williams want a Renault.
I can see it, Formula One ending up being a sport, and I don't know whether this is going to be a good thing for it or not. But I can see the manufacturer dropping out of Formula One eventually, because manufacturers seem to be so keen on going to Formula E. Mercedes are going to have a Formula E team. How long do you think manufacturers are going to continue to run a really, really expensive Formula One team and a really cheap Formula E team?
Yeah.
To save some cash. All it'll take is another. If we have another like global financial wobble like 2008, it's all it'll take.
Don't forget Renault have already pulled out of Formula E though.
Well, have they pulled out? Have they?
Yeah, they gave it to Nissan.
Ah, right. But I mean, Renault fucking constantly pulling out of everything.
Well, Mercedes team isn't technically really a Mercedes team. It's a Mercedes-backed team.
It's going to be Mercedes though. Yeah.
This year, it's HWA which manage Mercedes teams, and it's going to end up as a fully fledged Mercedes Silver Arrows Formula E.
Mercedes' own Formula E car is being tested as we speak.
Yeah, probably.
No, it is. They've even had video of it going down the track.
So McLaren then. We got much more to say about them really. It was
not really.
Norris lost out.
Game of two halves in it. You know, it's
kind of
it was a shame.
Binary-ish result like Alpha.
Yeah.
And again, just unfortunate the way that the safety car played out and strategy didn't work, but still another positive race.
I think
totally.
They are firmly now, because what Renault seem to be more up and down than McLaren. You've got to kind of have McLaren as like the fourth best team on the grid now.
Well, they are essentially.
Yeah, but
where Sainz put the car.
But like Red Bull and Renault and McLaren were quite even on pace this weekend. But that seems to drop off for Renault quite a lot, where McLaren seems to be there all the time.
Yeah.
If Renault can sort their issues out, we'll get a genuine scrap for fourth.
Well, the thing is,
it relies on Renault sorting their issues out.
And Hulkenberg sorting himself out a little bit, because even before he had his issues, he wasn't on pace with Daniel Ricciardo. Did he go out in Q2?
Possibly.
I think so. Was he 11th?
But the thing is as well, a lot of the circuits for the latter part of the season are similar to Silverstone in that you got straights, fast sweeping corners. You know, you still got Singapore in the way and Abu Dhabi right at the end.
Even Singapore's got some massive straights though, hasn't it?
Yeah, but it's not sweeping like Silverstone is. You know, you've got your Monza, your Spa, Suzuka. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of the circuits are of that ilk.
Yeah.
So maybe Renault would have a chance to catch and maybe even pass McLaren in the second half of the season.
Maybe.
I mean, Renault say their strength over McLaren is actually on the slower corners.
Okay.
It's interesting.
McLaren seems to think that they're really good through the high-speed corners.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It'll be an interesting scrap for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Right, Red Bull next. Verstappen
fifth.
Punted into fifth.
Should have been third.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what else you could say, to be perfectly honest. I wouldn't say he's quite Alonsoing that car and dragging it like further up than where it should be, but he's certainly of the 4 drivers that he's fighting with all the time, including himself, the driver that he's fighting all the time, his teammate Gasly, Vettel, Leclerc. He's got more about him than the others at the moment. I mean, I'm not saying it'll be a permanent thing with Max, but he's certainly got more pace in that car than anyone else is finding in similar vehicles.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. It looked like we were going to get another quality scrap between Verstappen and Leclerc.
Well, we did,
especially when they were wheel to wheel in the pit lane.
Yeah.
And then before that, and then after that, it was.
I was hoping that one would go the distance.
Yeah, I mean, Verstappen lost out on the place to Leclerc because he did a little bit with Grosjean. He booted it a bit too much on the cold tyres. But that aside, he looked like he was on for a decent 3rd place until a 4-time world champion made what I described as a rookie mistake.
I don't even know if it was a rookie mistake. It was just weird. He just seemed to completely forget where his braking point was.
Well, Vettel's explanation was that he got a better run out of the corner before than Verstappen did. And
thought a gap was opening.
Thought there was a gap. Then there wasn't a gap. And by the time he hit what was going to be his braking point, he was too close behind Verstappen, who hadn't got a good run.
Yeah.
And
downforce through
and lost his downforce.
Much like what happened between Ricciardo and Verstappen at Baku last year, was it, when they ran into each other?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people said, "Oh, that wasn't similar. There was more swerving going on." No, from the way that it happened,
the loss of downforce.
It was identical.
Yeah.
The car behind loses downforce, isn't stuck to the track, can't brake, locks up. You're a passenger, nowhere to go except for into the back of the car in front of you.
I mean, I do think that Vettel might have, because he was trying to come out essentially to dart route to try and take him on the outside.
Yeah.
We
he looked at the inside, realised it wasn't going to happen, and then accident.
Yeah, I think he this is the weird thing for me, is he left it too late to pull out. I think that's where the reason he ended up locking up is because he's realised he's not going to make it out, without hitting the car.
Yeah.
So that's when you're slamming the anchors on. That's where he locks up and goes into the back of him. He just completely misjudged everything. He misjudged his braking point. He misjudged the trying to get around the other car.
Yeah, okay. He completely misjudged everything, and I'm going to make a lot of people angry here by asking you this question. He misjudged everything, and he's got 4 world championships to his name.
Mm-hmm.
Would Lewis Hamilton have done the same?
No.
Of course not.
So, I don't think Sebastian Vettel 2 years ago would have done the same.
No, I don't know what's happened to Vettel. We'll move on to Ferrari in a minute, but I just want to say, Pierre Gasly, you just something Lee disagrees with me on. I think he had his best race of the season so far.
Oh no, he had his best race of the season, but
best weekend.
Yeah, but what I'm confused with everyone singing Gasly's praises is if everything would have gone normal, right? Vettel hadn't crashed into the back of Verstappen.
Yeah.
Gasly would have been at the back of the top cars.
Yeah.
And seconds behind his teammate.
Not that far behind. There was the train was for most of the race.
By the end of the race,
Verstappen, Leclerc, or Leclerc
seconds behind, because that's the way it always works with them.
Well, in that case, why didn't Verstappen catch him and pass him? Because it was still quite a way before the end of the race.
Because his car was broken.
No, it was fair. It was. They suggested afterwards and said there wasn't much damage to it.
Did you not see the floor?
There was a little bit of floor damage.
I heard the radio message to Verstappen from the pit wall saying, "Look, it's bodywork damage. There's nothing we can do about that from here."
Yeah.
His diffuser was left at that point.
Right. Okay. But the team afterwards seemed surprised that there was not.
Oh, there was. It's odd because there was. Different things come out of it. Horner's quote was, "It was a miracle he got the car to the end of the race."
Oh, okay.
So I'm surprised that I'm still surprised he didn't catch and pass him, to be perfectly honest. And don't get me wrong, I don't want Gasly to fail. I just think it's.
Gasly was fighting with Leclerc at one point, and I thought I was cheering him on. I was like, "Go on," because I want Pierre Gasly to have a good race.
I'm not going to get on board with a with a train that all of a sudden, because somebody finishes fourth because there's a massive accident.
That wasn't it. It was
does not a Red Bull motor make.
That wasn't just that. It wasn't just the result. The result, of course, as you say, Vettel and Verstappen would have finished ahead of him, and he would have been sixth anyway. But the fact that he was on the back of a Ferrari for most of the race. A Ferrari ended up finishing on the podium.
Don't forget, at the beginning of that race, he was still like off them by a good second. He wasn't in a DRS.
He
wasn't. No, but not until like pit stops and safety cars and stuff.
Possibly.
Yeah, because I even noticed at the time. I thought,
but early
they're
season,
dropping him.
Yeah, but early season Gasly would have been 11th. Fighting.
Early season he would have been 11th. But I just don't think that this result's his best result. But he needs to build on that now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. It's a good result for Gasly. If he can keep up this level of performance, it'd be more difficult for Red Bull to get rid of him at the end of the year.
Even so, I don't believe he's anywhere near the caliber of drivers to be in the top team. I think when you look up and down that field, and you look at some of the other drivers,
but he might do enough at this performance for them to go, you've got one more year.
Maybe.
They're not going to all of a sudden turn around and go, oh my God, Gasly is the saviour of Red Bull and he's going to win us a championship.
Well,
because let's be honest, Max might have something to say about that.
No, Jos would have something to say about that, which would be in a Dutch accent. Would you like to step outside, Christian?
I think Honda will have the ultimate decision on whether he stays at Red Bull, but that's more to do with if their next engine upgrade's an improvement.
Yeah.
Well, when the next engine upgrade comes in, he will be starting quite a way down.
No, but I mean, I think somebody else's decisions might be influenced on that Renault upgrade, on that Red Bull upgrade. Honda upgrade.
Honda.
Go on, you can do it. You can get there. You can get there. Take a run up.
But yeah, and Verstappen, as I say, I think he probably would have finished third if it wasn't for Vettel.
Yeah,
I can't disagree with that. Right, well, Ferrari next. Leclerc did get third.
Leclerc did get third, and that's his fourth podium in a row. So,
he was good as well, Leclerc, this weekend.
Leclerc is good. Leclerc is somebody who is moulding himself slowly. He's not quite. His qualifying is getting better, but he's not consistent enough yet.
He had a fantastic race with Max Verstappen.
Yeah, and he was fair.
And ballsy.
It's left Max to actually play mind games, saying that Leclerc's still sore from what happened 2 weeks ago, and he said that after the race.
Yeah, I think the other thing to think is Max is not the easiest person on the track to race with.
No, and Charles did a great job of racing with him, and Leclerc for me is. I think Ferrari. He's making Ferrari have a very difficult decision here, because Ferrari still wish, and they said today that they want to still throw all their weight behind Sebastian Vettel, and I, for the life of me, can't see why.
Saturday afternoon in Ferrari's press conference, they said in a 50-50 situation we will favour Seb.
Yeah, which is rubbish.
Yeah,
because Sebastian Vettel is hemorrhaging. There we go, hemorrhaging points for that team.
Best 2 out of 3.
Yeah. Well, best 2 out of 3 is kind of what Sebastian's scoring record is like at the moment. He's scoring in 2 out of 3 races.
That's it. That's his first non-point scorer of the season. And what a spectacular way to do it. His head's gone.
We're talking about another Vettel mistake. How many times has he got to make mistakes before somebody turns around and goes, "You've made too many mistakes. Get out."
Yeah.
Because if I'm not Mattia Binotto, but if I was in his position,
you've got square glasses.
Yeah, I have. I'm not wearing them tonight. I forgot them. But if I were in Mattia Binotto's position, the conversation needs to be had, and it needs to be had now, because if Ferrari are going to do something about it, now's the time to act before the summer break. What are we going to do about our driver lineup for next year? We thought we were going to keep Vettel and Leclerc. Leclerc is clearly a future, he's something that we're moulding. We need to look after Charles Leclerc. Sebastian Vettel is a broken man, and he's breaking the team, and we are losing points because of him.
It'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
And his mistakes, going back about a year from now, constantly making mistakes. Anytime anyone got alongside him.
Was it France last year? screwed up
into Bottas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So over a year now of Vettel mistakes, and he just shrugs them off now.
I still think that Sebastian Vettel as a Ferrari driver, because I'm still not willing to believe that a 4-time world champion can just all of a sudden become a shit driver. I still think he left whatever it was he had in Baku when he drove into Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah,
Something
there's a mistake.
changed.
So it's been over,
Something changed in that man that day.
I mean, we almost had a championship battle last year, didn't we? Until Belgium last year, when after the summer break, when Vettel pulled that move on Hamilton. And
I'd say Germany was the turning point because it was the world's slowest, shittiest crash.
Yeah, but Belgium last year, which was after Germany, when he pulled that move on Hamilton on the Camel Straight and then it was disappeared, and Hamilton himself after the race said, I can't catch him. There's absolutely no way I could have got anywhere near him. We thought we've got a real championship fight on our hands here. And then we went to Monza and Mercedes just did the reverse, disappeared into the distance. And Vettel then went and made a multitude of mistakes towards the end of the season. He threw that championship away just as much as Ferrari did, and he's doing the same this year. He's already 100 points behind Lewis Hamilton, which is 4 clear race wins if Hamilton doesn't score.
Oh, well, we are now in the territory anyway where because he's over a race when ahead of Bottas, isn't he?
Yes.
And I think it's obviously even a DNF wouldn't see him behind in the championship, or it'd close up. But I genuinely think it's a Schumacher Silverstone incident. He would have to have like a serious accident in which he couldn't make races to lose this world championship.
I don't know how else he's gonna, unless he turns into Vettel and loses his head completely and just makes stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
And Bottas just pips him. But Bottas was quite solid as well this weekend.
He was very solid.
It probably could have won the race.
I still think Lewis would have got past.
I think on the strategies that they had, now knowing that they were split.
Just looking at the. Sorry, who
we
are?
May as well talk about
Mercedes now. Yeah. Just looking at the pace Lewis had at the end of the race, the pace he had in hand on used tyres, that was ridiculous. I'm convinced he only did that because he knew how to bet on him.
I mean, Bottas said after the race that he didn't think it was possible for him to do it on a one-stop.
Yeah.
So he was always going to be two-stopping. And I think even without the safety car, Lewis would have only one-stopped.
I think without the safety car, they wouldn't have done it because Mercedes do treat the drivers fair when it comes to strategy. So I think whatever Bottas' strategy was, Hamilton would have been put on the same strategy. So I think he'd have had to do it on track. But the thing is, we keep saying like the Hamilton and Bottas had this great race at the beginning of the
it was good,
and it was really entertaining. It was really good to watch.
Right up to the point where the director.
Oh God,
we'll get to that in a bit.
But Hamilton made a mistake in that because he was pushing Bottas around the circuit. That's the reason it was a really good race, is because Hamilton had so much more pace.
Yeah, but Bottas was defending brilliantly.
Yeah, but Hamilton didn't shut the door on him when he should have done. He was too kind going into the. Is it the Camel Straight? Is it the Camel Straight?
That's in Belgium.
No, which is the straight?
Hanger Straight.
Hanger Straight. Sorry. The it's because you said it before. Isn't
it was
it?
the Wellington Straight, wasn't it? I think that Bottas repassed him.
No, it was just before Cops, wasn't it?
Possibly. That's the old start finish straight.
That's the Hanger Straight.
No, the Hanger Straight's the back straight.
Right. It was the one before Cops anyway. But
coming out of Luffield.
Yeah, right. That long corner, Hamilton could have cut back in and blocked him. But how he actually said, I was probably too kind there, but I didn't believe it was the right thing to cut across my teammate.
But had it ended the race for both of them, then you know what I mean.
But what I mean is, if he'd have been a bit more aggressive there, he'd have kept that position through Cops and disappeared off into the distance. The pace advantage he had on Bottas, and I don't believe even whether it was an undercut or an overcut. Eventually, look at the pace difference he had when Bottas was on fucking new softs. He was on 30-lap-old hard tyres and he broke the lap record. He said, I don't know if it's a lap record, but he set the fastest
it
lap.
was. Every fastest lap from about lap 21 was a lap record.
Crazy. But it wouldn't have mattered if Bottas pitted beforehand. I think Hamilton would have sorted it out because he had that extra pace around that circuit.
Yeah, and he always does.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't. I don't think it was a guaranteed win because of the safety car.
No.
I still think it'd have only one stopped without the safety car.
I don't think he'd have been allowed. I think they'd have, unless he was. See, the thing is, I don't think he'd have been put on the hards. I think they'd have stuck to the softs and the mediums, like Bottas was, because they'd have just kept parity between the drivers. So he'd have had to. The only reason he did the hards was because of the safety car, wasn't it?
I think that was Hamilton's strategy all along. They just went a few laps earlier because of the safety car.
Yeah. I think he was always down for a one-stopper.
I don't know. I think that it would cause too much friction in a team to give the guy that was behind such an advantage.
Well, I mean, it all depends on what the drivers think they can do, because it was Bottas himself that said, I didn't think I could one-stop that race, that's why I had a two-stopper.
Yeah, but they don't usually strict the strategies, that's what I'm trying to say. They're usually fair with what the drivers are given. And they do have that lead driver pit stop thing where lead driver gets the pit stop advantage.
It was just unfortunate the way it worked out for Bottas, but he took it with good grace, as he always does.
Yeah, I don't think he'd have needed it anyway. I think he'd have got past.
No, but 26 points for Hamilton at the end of the day.
Yeah,
fastest lap on the final lap, and how, I'm not entirely sure, but just.
I think Toto was surprised by it after the race.
Just that he's now the most successful British Grand Prix winner of all time. 6 Grand Prix wins in Britain. No one's ever done that.
Yeah.
The records just keep falling, don't they?
It's going to take a lot for anyone to beat that.
What number win was that for him? 78, 79?
70 many.
Well, we're gushing over Hamilton, and I know it's fun because I know people hate it. Do we, regardless of we'll leave, is he the greatest Formula 1 driver of all time until he decides to retire? Is he the greatest British sportsman of all time?
I don't know about that.
Name someone better, name somebody more successful.
Or more successful in terms of success. Chris Hoy. Sir Chris Hoy.
You call snooker a sport?
I don't. No, snooker's a game.
I mean, it's really hard to say.
I think
Steve Redgrave, because he did it different over so many years.
Many years over many disciplines.
Yeah. But I think given the fact that Lewis Hamilton isn't finished, and if he ends up equaling or beating all Michael Schumacher's records, I think that's a serious. But before we get into is he the best Formula 1 driver of all time, I think we can definitely have a discussion of whether he's the best British sportsman.
The thing is, can you call him the best Formula 1 driver of all time, because there's been that many different eras with...
I think so.
The way that Formula 1 is.
Yeah, no, but I think people use that excuse because they're bitter that the drivers that they want to have they protect it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just looking up on Wikipedia here. 14th of July 2019, the British Grand Prix was Lewis Hamilton's 80th win.
Yeah,
in
70 many.
11 more to beat Schumacher, isn't it?
And there are 11 races. 11 to draw level, and there are 11 races left this year.
He's not going to do it this year, but next year, I think he'll beat him.
Is possible. Yeah.
Bloody likely.
Well, I said, was it last week or the week before? I said.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it. There's 11 races left this year.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to win less than 5? I don't.
But the thing is, I think was it a couple of weeks ago when I said next year's this year's a big one for Hamilton, but next year's even bigger, where he could easily hit 100 pole positions, match Michael Schumacher's 7 world championships, and I'm not saying all this is going to happen, and beat his race record all in 1 year.
Well, did you see that statistic that in the last 6 years, is it 6 years of Formula 1, Lewis Hamilton has won 56% of all races.
Yeah.
Staggering and frightening.
Yeah.
So, who are our drivers of the day?
Lewis Hamilton was driver of the day.
I got by Carlos Sainz.
I'm going for an honorary mention for Kvyat.
Yeah.
18th to 9th.
Yeah, that was a good.
Was it 18th, 17th to 9th?
17th, I think, to
Yeah.
9th. He did take that 9th place because of his teammate having an issue.
Sebastian Vettel, because it was hilarious.
Lewis Hamilton fans should have voted Antonio Giovinazzi.
That tweet got a lot of likes.
Yeah.
Kevin Magnussen, that's my thought.
No.
Gave us something to talk about at the start.
No, look.
What do you mean gave us something to talk about? There's loads to talk about all the way through the race.
I think Lewis Hamilton, just purely for the way that he deals with winning the British Grand Prix, I think it's cool.
Apparently he was crowd surfing for an extra half hour after the cameras stopped.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
But I like it. He doesn't know. No other
I've got a feel for everyone in the crowd, because I mean, standing there for 3/4 of an hour with somebody crowd surfing over you, it's going to be hell on the shoulders. I know he only weighs like 9 stone soaking wet, but still having your arms in the air for that long, when you're not at a rave, you're going to know about that the following morning.
You don't have to put your arms up until he gets close to you. Let's be honest.
You don't keep them there. But I just think it's. I like the way he deals with his fans. I think it's good. I think he gives maybe a little bit more of himself than other drivers do.
Yeah, I mean, we've got obviously quite we've got some good personalities in Formula 1 at the moment.
Yeah.
Lando especially, Danny Ricciardo.
Lethal with a t-shirt cannon if you saw him pre-race.
I did, yeah. Danny Ricciardo. It's just he's relaxed a lot more now that he's got his feet under the table at Renault. He's you know,
it's ever since he got on top of Hulkenberg, isn't it? If I'm honest.
So. Yeah.
Again with Ricardo though, you got to feel sorry for Carlos Sainz left nut.
right ball it was.
Was it right ball?
Until 12 laps to the end, apparently. So yeah, all in all, a great Grand Prix. Win. I don't want to say the win was tainted, but I mean it's the way the sport falls sometimes.
The win fell into his lap easier than it would have done without the safety car being there, but he'd have probably, like you say, Lee, he'd have probably done it anyway.
Yes.
So.
If he would have taken those chances, I'll tell you somebody who wouldn't, Sebastian Vettel, would have somehow lost it from that position.
Probably, yeah.
It'd have been backwards at some point. Heroes and villains.
Vettel's a villain.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a toss-up between Vettel and the director.
I'll tell you which we didn't note again, which we fucking should have done, is the fact that yet again, I don't think there was any conspiracy in it, but fucking Ferrari did Leclerc. Two laps too long. Yeah. That's why he fell all the way back from where he was.
Yeah, a little bit.
He got lucky because of the incident between Vettel and Max.
Yeah.
But again, I know there was a load of people saying, Ferrari doing this to favour Vettel over Leclerc. I don't think it was. I think it was just complete incompetence.
Yeah. There's something going on at Ferrari. They've got some really important decisions to make in terms of driver. The
decision seems to be what they struggle with.
Well, yeah, but I mean the team is reflected so well by Sebastian Vettel at the moment, and it's just, this is going well. Oh wait, no, we've made a terrible mistake. And that is, for the last year, appears to be Vettel and Ferrari.
There was a brilliant meme.
Is it time to dig out the Ferrari headless chicken badge again? Thank you, Charlie Jefferson.
Probably.
Not yet, but
I think so. I think it should definitely be dusted off.
But somebody put up a wonderful picture of a podium at like a post-race press conference, with the last man to win a world championship for Ferrari, last man to win a race for Ferrari, and some other stat as well, I can't remember, it was the last something for Ferrari, and all three were Kimi Räikkönen in different Ferrari uniforms.
There was a great meme that went out, which was safety car out, do we pit Charles? And then there was a dog floating around the ISS. Oh, it cracked me up.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, the internet hive mind is the funniest comedian in the world.
You really should, if you're on Twitter, follow Pit Lane Girl for the funniest tweets competition during the race, because there are some absolute gems there. And I'm not just saying that because we won the Haas Special Edition, although we did.
I'm still bitter because my meme of Cartman saying I want to wear lipstick next time you fuck me didn't win the award because it was put in slightly after the race.
Them's the rules. You got to get it in before the checkered flag.
Rules control the fun.
I just want to point out my tweet about Hamilton's points being only 5 points behind Ferrari isn't correct because Formula 1 took a little while to update their standings. He's actually 20 points behind the entire Ferrari team.
Yeah.
Just like to point that out. I did leave the tweet out there. A lot of
there is every chance that by the summer break he will be ahead of Ferrari.
Yeah.
But that's crazy.
A lot of you liked it.
If this season...
I was slightly wrong. I do apologise.
But if this it keeps going the way it is, which I think it will. I think Hamilton is going to win a load of race for the end of the year. You'll be in the situation where you could detract fucking Bottas's points off that, and Lewis Hamilton wins the Constructors' Championship.
There is every possible chance.
Wasn't it that way last year?
Not quite, I don't think.
I think it was. Because I'm convinced we talked about this. Convinced.
I don't think it was. It wasn't far off. But you've got internet devices in.
Hamilton's on 223 points, and Ferrari are on 243 points.
Yeah.
So the gap between Hamilton and Ferrari is 20 points. Yet the gap between Hamilton and Vettel is 100.
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Got to talk about the absolute crappy choice of camera shots and cutting of the director this week. Yeah. There's a battle going on between the two leaders in a race.
And we cut to the crowd.
Yeah.
What the hell's all that about?
No idea.
And also cutting to cameras too early for corner shots when Verstappen and Leclerc were having their battle.
Yeah,
Verstappen and Leclerc having a wonderful battle.
We've seen them
cut to an empty corner for the next 5 seconds.
Here's some tarmac.
Yeah.
Yes, we know it's new tarmac, but we'd like to see the cars on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that was a one-off because I don't remember it being that poor in Austria or even in France. I remember but it was particularly poor. It was probably the worst thing about the British Grand Prix. And if that's the only thing we can grumble about, we had a pretty good race.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I do like that new wire camera they've got. They've extended it where you get all the last 3 corners in one long continuous tracking shot.
Yeah, that is nice.
You know that really works well, and you actually get a really good sense of what speed and grip the cars have got as they're coming round the last few.
I wonder how long it's going to be until we've got enough faith in drones that we can use drones for following cars and stuff.
I'd stick with wire cams.
Yeah, but it will happen. Yeah, it will happen where we've got enough faith in the drones and they're quick enough and they can.
The only thing with the drones will be that they won't be able to fly over the track directly. They'll be over like the grass bit, really close to the circuit, but they won't. I don't think they'll be allowed to fly over the circuit.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean,
because a helicopter's not allowed to either.
Yeah,
TV helicopter.
Yeah. I mean, you say that, but if that helicopter came down, just because it's not over the track, doesn't mean it's not going to end up in the track.
Oh yeah. If it goes wrong, it can come down anywhere.
Yeah. I'd rather a drone hit the track than a helicopter.
Yeah, is it in America where the chopper pilot waits for the cars to come up the hill and then follows them down the hill really quickly?
Yes.
There's always a rising chopper, isn't there? And he follows them down the hill like some sort of weird military thing.
Looks like a motorsport version of Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, or
you just need Brad of the Valkyries playing in the back of it.
I love Apocalypse Now. It's a great film.
I've not seen it for years.
One of my favourite films of all time.
Definitely one on my watch list. Anyway, should we move on to sort of newsy bits?
Go for it.
Right. Formula E, Jean-Eric Verne. XF1 driver.
Congratulations on the title, but what are you playing at, mate?
I know.
Asking your team to get your teammate to bring out a safety cap. Sure, it's been done before.
Well, Andre Lotterer is his teammate. Andre Lotterer, former Formula 1 driver for one race. And he crashed into the back of Jean-Eric Verne. And Verne said, his car must be really badly damaged. You should probably stop out on track, bring out a safety car.
He did actually say, or put it in a wall.
or put it in a wall.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
So he's been given community service for unsportsmanlike behaviour.
I mean,
Now,
it's
your newly
ridiculous,
crowned
isn't it?
champion is supposed to be a bastion for your sport. Do you know what I mean? The guy that you can look at as him like...
Well, we got the first 4 letters right.
a bastard. Yeah, something. But, you know, he's not the person you can then present to the rest of the world if he's telling people to, you know, deliberately crash so I can win.
I mean, what other world champion would have a teammate that sticks a car in a wall to bring a safety car out?
But he didn't know anything about it.
Didn't know anything about it. That's...
He didn't have a bloody clue what was going on, did Paul?
you know me, Paul. I won't stand for a conspiracy theory.
That is true, or so the internet leads me to believe. But I'm not going to tell you which website that's on. The other main news story of the week, and it's possibly the most bizarre thing that any of us have seen around Formula One since the Andrea Moda team, which you will find all the details of in Perry McCarthy's book, Flat Out.
It's possibly more bizarre than that.
This whole Rich Energy situation.
It is crazy.
Post Austria Grand Prix, Rich Energy tweeted that they were terminating their deal with Haas because their performance was terrible. They expected to be fighting with Red Bull, so expected to be ahead of Red Bull,
Yeah.
and instead the cars are finishing behind the Williams,
And because of
which is unacceptable.
and because of the PC attitude in Formula One at the minute.
Yeah,
That was also in that
it
tweet.
was something mentioned along those lines. Now,
Oh, it was politics, wasn't it?
Something like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
Now, Haas made a statement from team principal Gunther Steiner to say that I cannot comment on the commercial confidentiality between the partnership between Rich Energy and Haas, but they are still our partners. I was like, right, okay, so what's going on here? Then news emerged that the investors behind Rich Energy may not have known about this tweet and were then scrabbling together to try and save the deal.
Yeah.
And then the British Grand Prix weekend happens and Haas continue to run Rich Energy on their cars. Now, okay, they had a disastrous race following what happened on lap 1. But then the Rich Energy tweeted a picture
on Friday, Haas had Rich Energy on the cars, but Grosjean didn't have a front wing on his for his first lap.
No, he didn't. This is true. He left his Rich Energy in the pit lane. Yeah, the energy company tweeted that they were. It was a great start, boys. Basically, poking fun at Haas with a liveried milk float driven by a very poorly photoshopped CEO of Rich Energy.
I'm not going to be fair. I'm going to be fair here. I thought that was hilarious. I was highly, highly amused.
Had what not transpired the week before, might have been quite funny.
No. I think that made it funnier.
But I don't know what's going on, but I have a feeling that this is all to do with Rich Energy trying to get more.
It's got people talking about him.
So I want to just say, let's just stop talking about them.
Now Force India is stable though. The Pirate was there this weekend. Do you see the Pirate walking
Was he
around?
there?
Yeah. It must be one of the countries he won't get arrested in.
No, it's the country he won't get arrested in. Well, no, he had to surrender his passport.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's why he only ever came to the British Grand Prix.
Ah.
So if he's the Pirate, did he use this one before? That makes him VJ Malyar.
Yeah, probably, but it's a good one. keep it in the pocket. I'm sure you can.
He's not allowed to be anywhere near Racing Point now, legally.
No, but he can still go to a Grand Prix.
Yeah, probably.
Makes you sound like he touched them inappropriately.
Yeah, legally, I don't think he's allowed to be anywhere near them or any of their employees, even though he's a previous owner of a previous incarnation of the team. But anyway.
So yeah, stop talking about Rich Energy and they stop getting the oxygen of publicity. Yeah.
The thing is, it's worth talking about because we don't know where it's going to go. Is there going to be a race where all of a sudden it's not on the car? But there are other arguments which we won't get involved in. But
I think the thing to remember and what people need to realise is that this isn't a Force India situation because Haas is a billionaire, I believe. And
the Haas company, Haas Automation,
or
Haas Automotive, are a massive
Yeah,
company.
no, but I think Mr. Haas himself
Mr.
is
Haas
a billionaire.
has a large amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not allowed to just pump money into his own team though. Otherwise, everybody.
No, but he has been. He's been keeping them afloat.
But yeah, I mean, he could totally be like, "Oh, I've just signed a sponsorship deal, and I'm the benefactor." Do you know what I mean?
But-
It's an easy way around it.
But the thing is, they have self-sponsored themselves, haven't they, for the last few years?
For the first two seasons, their title sponsor was Haas.
But what all I'm saying is that if they lose $35 million, or whatever it was that we believe that the sponsorship is, that team's not going anywhere. The team's fine.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And Haas look okay out of this, and it's the other guys who look like proper idiots.
And if they want a new title sponsor that's still an energy drink, there is one that they could do which would fulfil Gunter Steiner's prediction at the start of Drive to Survive last year, and they could get Rockstar branding on the can, and they would look like rockstars and not wankers.
Yep. I'm more than convinced, though, that your Haas are more interested in what the fuck is going on with their car than they are about what's going on with their livery.
I think it's a split of what the fuck's going on with the car and what the fuck's going on with the drivers.
Yeah, it's true.
But let's not talk any more about that, because it's worth, as I say, it's worth talking about this once, but let's not give them too much.
Yeah, I think we are pretty much done with them now.
Well, not talk about those, but while we're still mentioning energy drinks, I still find it like crazy that Monster haven't got a bigger sponsorship deal with Mercedes. I know they're involved in a
Jesus
small
Christ.
one. You'll be mixing that out. I know they've got a big sponsorship with Hamilton. You know, like Hamilton's sponsored by Monster, isn't he? But given the fact that Mercedes keep beating Red Bull, I'd have thought the Red Bull Mercedes-Benz, the Monster Mercedes-Benz would have been a good thing for them.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's still
although with the amount of money that Petronas sponsor
me.
Mercedes for, and that's rumored to be around about $100 million a year.
Monster
May not have that kind of
But
money.
even if Petronas is still the title sponsor, you'd still think a
bigger presence.
A bigger presence. They've already got a green colour on the car, you know, with the Petronas thing. So it could all work in quite nicely livery-wise.
Yeah.
Even just a rear wing. Just like the rear wing being Monster or something. But
yeah, how much is Petronas paying for it though? Because that's what
it's big money, big.
What it says on the back.
I'm sure they just give them free petrol.
I think it might be time to shunt it. We had a tweet this week saying, "Please bring the guitar theme back." Chris, can we record a total shunt theme tune at some point? We can just drop it in.
Yeah, probably.
I like that, non-committal.
Well, he might be non-committal, but we're not sure. Right, can I ask you a couple of questions before we do this shunt late?
Yeah.
These couple of questions are: is it Lightning McQueen and is it Guido van der Gaard?
Absolutely not.
In that case, who sent this week's shunting?
I just want to say, I can't do the live theme anymore because of Arthur.
Yes.
I haven't done it since he was a little baby.
Yeah, he sleeps lighter now.
Exactly. So I'm surprised.
Which is why I'm saying let's record one.
Pre-record it, yeah.
Pre-record
Not
it.
fade away.
Yeah, pre-record, not fade away. Pre-record, not fade away. Pre-record.
We're going to have to explain this one for anyone either not in the UK or under the age of 30.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. Just keep going.
Actually, look it up yourselves. That's what the internet's there
Even
for.
being 37, I need to have a reasonable memory to remember it.
What you want to say is actually re-record, not fade away. So if you Google that, you'll know what it is.
Yeah. Right, this is for, and is this the guy's real name? I need to, I don't know. If it's his real name, fucking tremendous. Stephen Terra.
Wow.
Stephen Faber, you will find.
Is it not his real name?
It's not his real name.
It's a shame. I hope he's a pro wrestler. Maybe that's his working name.
So, right, bit of the backstory on this one. He actually sent me a message.
He killed a man.
Sent me a message just after the race yesterday saying, "Lee's got my shunt."
Yeah, killed a man. That's why they call him Stephen Terra.
Just to watch it die.
In Reno.
I was born.
Yeah, good start. How many dots after I was born?
3, hopefully.
3 and a sentence.
You were born?
Is that it?
In Yugoslavia. But I did not fly that flag.
Mario
Born-
Andretti.
No.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, possibly. Yeah, he was born.
Mario Andretti was born in what is now Yugoslavia.
No, what is no?
What is now
Slovenia.
Slovenia, but was Yugoslavia
Yeah.
after he was born because it was Italy at the
Yeah.
time.
Was he like the first Rosberg?
Was, yeah.
The thing was, he didn't have to change nationalities to change passports. Where he was born just kept changing nationalities. Seriously, the city where Mario Andretti was born has been in 3 different countries in his lifetime.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I raced with Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Pedro Diniz.
Okay.
So, somebody who has ridden a Sauber, because they were both in Sauber at various points.
Jean-Christophe Bouillon.
Did he ever drive a Sauber?
Yeah, Jean-Christophe Bouillon was a Sauber driver.
I just remember him pootling around at the back and they always called him Williams test driver.
Jean-Christophe Stockcube. I've been in 87 Formula 1 races.
Probably not Jean-Christophe Bouillon. He probably only did 2 or 3 seasons.
87 races, so that would make that 64, 80. Probably looking at about sort of six seasons with a few races missed.
Okay.
Like, guess, please.
Born in Yugoslavia but didn't drive as Yugoslavia. Carl Wendlinger. He was in Sauber at one point, wasn't he?
Carl Wendlinger was. He was Heinz-Harald Frentzen's teammate at Sauber. And I don't know where he went after that.
Prison.
Possibly. I don't know. He was a sports car driver for Sauber for a while. Carl Wendlinger is a good guess. Let's go with Carl Wendlinger.
Go for Carl Wendlinger for the first one.
I have 2 wins in F1 to my name. They came in Italy and France.
Wendlinger didn't win a race. Trying to think now, Jean Alesi. One of his wins was Canada, wasn't it? He didn't have all that many wins.
We're looking at a sponsor here rather than a...
No, we
Private.
could possibly be.
Next one.
Next clue.
I started my professional racing career in 1995 Porsche Super Cup.
So somebody very posh who likes getting up close and personal with barriers.
And driving really, really fast cars, but looking ridiculously slow on the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Are they coming? Are they here yet?
It's time stopped. Time has stopped.
They are getting bigger, aren't they?
Hang on, they've hit 88 miles an hour. That's next week.
Schrodinger's touring car. If you don't observe it, it doesn't move.
Do we get another clue before we have to do another guess?
I've been in Formula 3000.
It's just the same, but it's all underwater.
That's very good. Let's wrap this up now.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah. I've been in Formula 3000. I have been Formula 3000 I've been in the Formula 3000 Italian Championship, whatever the fuck that is, the Formula 3000 British Championship, and the Vauxhall Junior Formula.
I honestly thought that there was only the International Formula 3000 Championship.
I have no idea.
I never knew that. I never knew there were national ones.
I'm going with this though because I know there's been genuine work put into this because it was sent to 2 different ones. There was one put in, and then there was a panic message saying, "Don't use that one. Use this one."
I also know that there was a lot of work put into this because again he sent me another message. He's been working on this for about 3 weeks.
Wow.
What about Giovanni Lavaggi? He only did about 2 or 3 seasons.
And again, wins.
Oh, and also, yeah, good point, yeah.
He sounds like a sleazy holiday rep.
I think he probably is.
So looking at the round that's got wins, they were in, what was it, France and Italy.
They were.
I'm no closer. I mean, I suppose the Italy one, that could be, was it Italy, was it San Marino?
Yeah, possibly.
Do you want another clue before you have to give me a question?
What number was that?
That was 6.
So we have to give you an answer on 6, don't we?
Yeah, I'll give you another one. I don't think it's
Okay.
going to help, but I made my F1 debut in 1997. Now I'd like a guess.
Hellfire, right. Who started in 97?
Mika Salo.
No, he was there. I think he was there 96.
Was he?
He was there a bit before.
Some say he's always been there.
He's still going around Monaco and hasn't stopped yet. Who made their debut in 1997? Stuart and Lola. Although Lola also left in 1997.
Jan Magnussen.
No, because he'd done one race for McLaren
in
before,
95.
Yeah, before he raced for Stewart. And he's very, very Danish anyway.
Yeah.
Imagine a team now, yeah? Imagine a team.
Giancarlo Fisichella.
Ooh. But just quickly, well, you mentioned Lola. Imagine now in this day and age, a team not making it to the grid that was sponsored by MasterCard as a title sponsor.
Yeah.
Well, do you know that they didn't actually receive any money from MasterCard? It was just one massive affiliate deal.
Was it?
Yeah. Lola were only getting paid based on the number of people that got a MasterCard on the back of them.
That was not a sensible move.
It wasn't.
It could be.
And they entered F1 a year early because the car was planned to be 98 and MasterCard demanded that they started racing in 97.
It could be Jarno Trulli.
Oh.
Jarno Trulli or Giancarlo Fisichella. Fisichella was very Italian, but may have been one of those born just outside of Italy and then was Italian, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but you could say that about Trulli as well.
Jarno's name came from some Finnish. We've
His,
done this before,
his
haven't we?
parents' favourite speedway rider or
Something
something.
like that, yeah.
Right, you ready for another one?
Yes.
Are you going to take one?
We do need to give you a guess on this, don't
Yeah.
we? Go Fizzy on this one?
And then Jarno Trulli if we need it
Yeah.
later on. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we'll go Fizzy.
I like this one because he's started to get a little bit more adventurous in the way he's writing them, and he's stuck a bit of a pun in. I decided to get my feet wet and joined the F1 Powerboat World Championship for 9 years.
Okay.
Alright. Okay.
No
No.
idea. No idea who that might be.
No.
If Fizzy Colour Crash, would it be a bit of plup plup fizz? Where are we? 9. I'm still currently involved in F1 to this day. Dun, dun, dun.
I think we've been looking for a driver, and it's probably not a driver. It's a something.
I was born in 1986.
So yeah, there's no way you would have been racing at 9 years old in.
So we've had 2 I was borns.
Well, one was a country, one's a year.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
It was two separate questions, just similar words.
Yeah.
There is a spaffer.
Which we may need, but yeah, you're right. It's got to be a thing.
You can give your guess after the spaffer. This is difficult.
I think we'll need to.
You can commonly see me at the Monaco Grand Prix.
I am a tunnel.
I can give you another spaffer.
Hang on a second. Zepter.
Oh.
Always sponsor the tunnel. And have been on cars as well. And they're a high-end cookery products firm.
Is that what they do?
Sponsored Damon Hill's Arrows in 1997.
Very expensive pots and pans. I think it was Pedro Diniz that brought that deal in.
He was Hill's teammate.
Yes.
So he raced with Pedro Diniz and
It's a shame it wasn't Panzers.
Do you know what? We haven't got anything.
Heinz
better.
Harald Frentzen. They also sponsored Arrows for a bit when Frentzen was driving for them as well, when the Orange Arrows Wear Skint team.
Right, okay.
Heinz
I thought it was a watch manufacturer, Zepter.
No, I'm sure it's Coupler.
Heinz Harold Frenson, it writes itself.
He's got 57 different varieties of joke. Should we go for
no sauce.
Spaffer 2?
Yeah.
Are you wanting another Spaffer?
I think we need the other Spaffer.
Just the very name fills Lee's heart with sorrow.
Now I'm lost. Zepter.
Are you proof that things on the internet aren't real, including conspiracy theories?
No, I'm not.
What fills his heart with sorrow? And if you're going to say anything, you're going to have to put your microphone down in front of your mouth and not have it 3 feet above your head.
BAR.
Oh, guys.
He's clearly been working on it for 3 weeks, so let's give him his 3
I'm talking to the microphone, Chris.
It's in my way.
It's meant to be in front of you.
It's in my way.
I think we're going to have to give up on this one.
Zepter is the best we've got.
Yeah, are you Zepter?
I am!
Holy hell!
Because of Hill in Hungary.
It was the
He's a title sponsor
of the Arrows team.
Yeah, and every time I see that advert, I can just think of Jacques Villeneuve overtaken on the outside, which would be a legal move
today.
now.
Yes, yeah.
And
Jacques
David would have got his
Villeneuve,
win.
Yeah.
I am sending him a message now. I'm just saying, quality shot.
Yeah, well done, Trevor. Simon
Trevor Terra.
Trevor Terra.
That was fantastic. Right, it is now time for a Formula Lee style jump cut. Because I haven't done the spreadsheet yet.
Nope.
But I will have done by the time you hear this, because I'll be reading that out in the morning. So. And here are the Formula Lee results from the Silverstone race. It was in an ART Formula 2 car in the dry. And you needed a time of 1:42.474 to get into the top 20. And these people all did. 20th place was Jimmy Hammerling. 19th, not got your name from PlayStation Network yet, but you called Zero Zil on there. 18th was Ryan Lauderbach. 17th, was James Nagel. 16th, Alberto Roldan. 15th, Adam Smith. 14th, Weitje Camping. 13th, Ollie Vestley. 12th was Joe Marsh. And 11th was Julian McMahon Hyde. Top 10. 10th place on his debut, Cathal Toomey. 9th was Pete Bull. 8th, Kyle Armstrong. 7th was Matthew Morrison. 6th was Nathan Mazzolo. 5th place goes to Ayrton Antonucci. 4th place, the returning Jeff Sharp. Into the top 3. 3rd place with a time of 1:40.681 was Marcel Streak. 2nd place with a time of 1:40.609, Alessandro Popolani. And winning yet again this week in a time of 1:39.936 was Chris Olby. Right, the next race, it's going to be Germany. And we're going to go back to the Formula 1 cars for this one. And let's try and get right what Vettel got wrong at the German Grand Prix last year. So we'll have it in a Ferrari. And I'll be generous, we'll do it in the dry as well. You've got until 7 o'clock UK time, 2 o'clock Eastern on the 29th of July to get your times into us. You know how, but then again, you'll know in a minute because I'm just about to say it. Right, here endeth the jump cut.
Wow, what a result.
And the next race is going to be incredible.
Yes.
Yes. I haven't decided what it's going to be yet. I think that about does us for tonight. If you want to get in touch with us, if you want to send a total shunt, you can.
Tweet me at a total shunt or send in a private message. Or do the same thing on Insta Snaps.
You can also, as I found out today, somebody did send a private message to 3 Legs 4 Wheels on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because somebody sent a shunt in on that, which I've got saved. You can email it to 3legs4wheels@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And if you want to tweet us individually,
at Flood21.
At Pablo100.
In general, though, try and send them to me because I do more of them.
Just tweeting in general. Don't send me a total shot. There's not much point in that.
No.
And you can get hold of Dan, if any of us can get hold of Dan,
At
Dan Dankleton, and Sean is at Sean Camper. Right, we will be back next week.
Dan doesn't give his location details away on his Twitter, so there's no point in following him.
No, that is true. He's got GPS turned off on everything. We'll be back next week. We're looking forward to the German Grand Prix.
If it happens. No, it will happen.
I was going to say, it's definitely happening this year. They've said so.
Are we going to play a game of what can go wrong for Seb this weekend?
Send in your predictions for what Seb's going to get wrong for the German Grand Prix. Send those to us, Facebook direct message, or
doesn't usually do well in Germany, does he?
No.
Not normally.
No. Send us how you think Seb's going to screw the German Grand Prix up, and we'll read some of the best ones out on the show next week. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
We will.
We will. Bye bye.
Arva ciao.